with the iconic Brian Jovi. It's my life, it's now or never.
Well, good day, and welcome to the inaugural episode of Pitbull214 Podcast, a podcast designated for veterans, their families, friends, and really anyone that wants to know more about how they can help our vets. I am Rick Perales, an Air Force vet, and I'm very excited and pleased to be your host for this program. Pitbull214 will share unique opportunities, resources, organizations that are already out there that may be perfect for you as a vet, or your father or uncle, or your neighbor. I will bring on guests that are experts in some of these areas to explain what they do, how they do it, and how somebody can get involved. But I'll get into more details a little bit later in this podcast. First off, I'd like to talk a little bit about myself, tell you who I am, my background, and my perspective and experience, so you know where I'm coming from. So, first thing to know is I am a military person from a military family. My father served, he was enlisted, retired as a master sergeant. He was an aircraft mechanic on F-4s, A-10s, and other planes. I was very proud of him. I remember when he come to my school, my elementary school, in his uniform, I was so proud of how sharp he looked. He was a good dad. We buried him a couple years ago at Quantico, and as a matter of fact, just buried my mother 2 weekends ago right next to him. They had 5 boys, and as it turned out, we all served admirably in the service. I had 2 brothers that served in the Army and 3 that served in the Air Force. The Air Force was good to me. I started off in the STS, the shuttle program, helping to build different infrastructure and pads that supported the shuttle at different locations: Johnson Goddard, Cape Canaveral, Kennedy, and other places that had something to do with the secure payloads going up. What a great job for a second lieutenant. Shortly after that, I ended up going to Saudi Arabia. I went to Germany, Egypt, all over the world. And as a civil engineer, it was a good experience to come into area that was pristine desert and build a 5,000 man and woman camp. Fully supportive, water, electricity, the whole bit. Very special. And I so enjoyed being a commander, as was my last assignment. I was commander of 788th Civil Engineering Squadron at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where I led approximately 500 men and women, military and civilian, and the operation and maintenance of the infrastructure of the base. Again, a wonderful opportunity. I think that when I look back, it was the military that helped me become who I became. After that, I ended up taking a 15-year retirement, and I worked at the University of Dayton, where I was in charge of their infrastructure, the campus planning, all the new buildings, operation and maintenance. Had about 100 people working for me, but I really like to think that the 10 years I was there, we made a huge leap. And what the campus looked like, the safety, the security, and the functionality of that campus. Very proud of our achievements there. About the middle of that time as a University of Dayton VP of facilities and campus planning, I started missing something that was so integral in my life, and that was service. So I went and I applied for the Beaver Creek Zoning Appeals Board, the board that takes any requests from citizens on variances for their project. And I served on that for about 6 months before some people encouraged me to run. Now, it's important for you to know that Beaver Creek, when I ran, and that would have been 15 years ago or so, it was not like what you know about municipalities today. Back then it was everyone ran for, in my case, 3 open seats, and whoever got the most votes was the mayor, and second most votes was the vice mayor. So you don't run for mayor, and people don't vote for you for mayor, but if you get the most votes, you are the mayor. I didn't like that system, and oh, by the way, it's changed since I was there, but I worked hard and I won the race out of 7 people, and I was the mayor. I loved that considerably. I served as a mayor of Beaver Creek for 2 years, and then I had the opportunity to move up to the county commission. So I ran for the county commission, and I won that race. So I ended up running several more times for commission, and usually you have to run for the primary. So I probably ended up running 4 or 5 times for that, and I won each time, and I served 8 years total before I decided to run for state. And I did, and I won that, and I ended up winning that for a total of 4 2-year terms. And that was probably my best job, the job I was most suited for, because you're at the tip of the spear there. I made some good laws. I led some good laws. I was on good committees. I was a chairperson for the Armed Services and Veteran Affairs Committee. I was kind of in my element there. And I tell you, one of the things I get asked a lot is, what was your hallmark bill? I mean, what do you really, when you walk away and you think about your accomplishments, what comes to mind? I'll tell you, I had a bill that was named reciprocity. And it is just what it says is, before that bill, and it took probably 6 years to pass it. It went over, I think, 2 general assemblies. Before that bill, a military member and their family moved to Wright Pat, say, and the spouse, the non-military spouse, who might have been a teacher or a nurse or some other profession, licensed professional, would come here and have to take a lot of classes and pay a lot of money in order to get reclassified and be able to serve as a nurse or a teacher here in the state of Ohio, which is ridiculous. And we learned during COVID that a nurse that's licensed and certified in Indiana is every bit as competent as a nurse that's licensed and certified in Ohio, and vice versa. So it took a while. We worked hard. I had a lot of people working with me in the Senate and the House, and we, after a long time, we finally got over the hill. I served there for 8 years, had a lot more good bills, did a lot of good things with my colleagues for veterans. Then I ended up going back to the county for 4 years, and I was at the point where I served more than 20 years as an elected official and 15 years as a military officer. And I like to brand myself and think of myself as a military member more than as an elected official. I thought that I'd done pretty much all I could. So I resigned. I didn't resign. I ended my term. I made it known that I wasn't going to run again. And I decided I'm going to work on something that I was passionate about, and that is veterans. Our veterans need a lot of help. You and I know that. And I'm hoping that this will, in large part, help with that situation. A couple things. How did this come about? It's interesting. I have a brother, Robert, who has 2 Purple Hearts and 2 Bronze Stars, and he's had some difficulties, and he can't speak as well as he used to, and just post-traumatic stress, just some difficulties. And we were having lunch right after, in January of 25, right after I ended my last term. And he asked me what I was going to do. And I said to him, well, I've got this offer. I've got these people talking to me. And I just want to do something that I get excited about getting up in the morning and doing. And I make a real impact for veterans. And he said, well, Rick, why don't you do a podcast? And I kind of laughed it off and said, yeah, right. Then he said, well, listen, Rick, who has more resources, knowledge, experience than you? You grew up in a military family. You served in the military and you were a commander. You served as a mayor in a military town. You wrote laws in the state of Ohio for military members. You've been engaged with the military your whole life. You have many contacts at the state and at the federal level, representatives and senators from both levels. I kind of nodded my head and I said, yeah, you're right. That all happens. It's all true. And then he said, and think of this, Rick. and he surprised me. I didn't expect this from him, I must say. He said, think of this, Rick. Anything else you do, you'll help one or two vets at a time, which is good. But if you do a podcast and it takes off, you could help tens, 20s, hundreds, maybe more vets at the same time. And that put me over the edge. So I said, I'm going to give this a try. I ended up starting thinking that I'll have my first podcast out by March. But this is a classic example of you don't know what you don't know. Podcast seems easy. It's not. There's a lot of technical aspects of it. You have to buy some equipment. I bought low-end equipment to get started and coordinate everything, and then advertising it. It's taken a lot more time and energy and assistance from a lot of people. And I will give them some credits. I will call out one person, Brennan Abbott, who's been we call him the creative director, who's helped me from the get-go, and he edits this and he puts all the information on the screen. So somewhere in this, you should have seen my name, my email address, and how to get a hold of me, my phone number, and he will do that for all the guests. He's a young man going to Wright State University, and I couldn't have done this without him. So there's a shout out for Brennan. Thank you. So anyway, here I am, and what I ask from you is it's going to be easy to communicate. I want this to be a two-way street. If I say something that's an error, I'm doing the best I can from the best information I have, but call me out. If you have some information you have that you think might be good for the show, let me know. Anything that's going to help vets, I want to do. And down the road, when I get a little better at this, I might have call-ins during the show. So that's what I'm going to ask for you folks. And then also to pass it on, again, to vets, to veteran families, and to friends of vets, or anyone that you know that might be interested in learning some of the things that I'm going to share that will support our veteran population. And lastly, I think what I want to say at this beginning part, before we get to our first guest, who, by the way, is a dear friend of mine, and he's been like a guinea pig. It's Joe Kennedy. He's a Greene County Recorder. He's going to talk about what he does for veterans, and I don't want to take his thunder. He's a good man, but people have asked me, where's that name come from? Well, I'll tell you, it's kind of came together, and I love it, and I hope you like my logo as well. As a squadron commander at Wright-Patterson, the wing commander was a guy named Bill Heitzig. I'm sorry. It's been a while. And he was a fighter pilot, just a good guy. He had that management style that made his troops want to be successful on his behalf. And he got to know me, and he gave me that name, Pitbull, and that stuck. You'll see that my troops, when I retired, gave me the Pitbull right there, and it's inscribed. So Pitbull, and of course, every vet, every military person knows what a DD214 is. Pitbull214. It just kind of came together. So listen, before we go to break, I want to say one more time, I thank you so much for joining us on this inaugural episode of Pitbull214. And I am so willing and happy to take any comments, suggestions that you have. And if it fits, if it does the right thing, I will use them. So please talk to me, email me, you can call me, and please share this with people that you think might need it or benefit from it. So with that, I'm going to go to break. I'll be back shortly with Joe Kennedy, the Greene County Recorder. Thank you.
Mr. Worldwide with the iconic Bon Jovi. It's my life, it's now or never.
Well, welcome back to Pitbull214 Podcast. I'm Rick Perales, an Air Force veteran, and I'm happy to be your host of this program. With me today is a very special guest and a dear friend, County Recorder for Greene County. He has gotten to be somewhat my guinea pig. He is my first guest, and we've probably had 3 or 4 shoots on this, so he's gotten very good if he wasn't good enough at the beginning. But I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, Joe, coming on and your patience with me. Getting this podcast started seemed like an easy task, but it's been much more complicated, and I've required much more help from a lot of experts out there, and I'll give them credits at the end of this program. But I'm so pleased to have Joe here with me today. Joe, as I said, is a Greene County Recorder. He's been doing that for about 8 months now, into his 9th month, and doing a bang-up job. Joe, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Commander Perales, it's a pleasure, and it's so special to be on here with you, and just that the advice you gave and experience that you've had. So I really appreciate that. I am your Greene County Recorder, and proud to do that and to get these resources and information about the Recorder's Office, especially as it pertains to veterans, as we're on this podcast, the Bulldog Podcast right now. My background, our family has a business background, definitely vets in my family. Both sides, grandpas fought in World War II, definitely a big part. My wife's family, my wife's dad, my wife's grandpa, all were in different theaters for different wars. Just growing up in the retail business, grocery business, namely, and then some other businesses, a bookstore, Christian bookstore, garden center, and then kind of came to manage real estate and started working in that business. And this kind of was a good fit because of just the real estate experience that I've had along the way. And I continue to learn and grow every day. And then it's great to find out of all the great things going on in the Recorder's Office as it pertains to veterans, which is why we're here talking about this today. So excited to try to give as much information as I can. And if I don't know the exact answer, I'll find out for you. And we'll talk about my contact information, or I'm guessing, Rick, you will here in a second. So
Right. Good prompt. Thank you for that. So for all the viewers out there, you'll see a script with Joe's contact information, the county recorder's office email and phone number. So Joe is a very approachable guy. His staff they're there for us. If you have any questions after this, please feel to reach out to them. So Joe, you talked about yourself, your family a little bit, but you are not a vet, but you have a very close spot in your heart for vets. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I mean, without our vets, our veterans, the people that are willing to go and risk their lives to allow us to be able to have conversation freely, openly and safely. We're under attack from a lot of different ways. And, it's important to recognize that and realize that. And a lot of those safeties that many people don't appreciate, that comes from that and the different other types of protections that they're protecting our ability to have free speech and to talk about things through, which we're supposed to do. So this country doesn't exist without them, as we all know that.
One last question about you, Joe, before we get into what we're here to talk about for the veterans. Tell us a little bit why you ran. I'm an advocate for all you vets out there. We need more vets in politics. We need more vets in government, all levels. Veterans have learned that it doesn't matter if you're a D or an R, when you're in a battle, just as long as that person has your back is all that matters. They bring a lot of that to the government, to our country that we need after they get out. So I encourage all veterans, if you've thought about it before, you can contact me, to veterans to get into politics for the right reasons. So Joe, why did you get into politics?
And I just want to jump off that a little bit as well and just say, typically your soldier or person that wants to serve is someone that is willing to, put that service above themselves. So, this is, they say, this is a public servant position, and it is like you aren't running a business. You're trying to run it as much like a business. And that's where my background comes into, to, conserve money, but you're trying to serve the county, our residents as much as, you can, and give them what they need for, and at the same time being cognizant of the money side of things. I think veterans make great, they've come out with a willingness to serve, like their willingness to help people. That's a good thing. And my background is more of a business background. So, that brings that conservative side of the money side, of our hard-earned money. And so, I think those would be great welcome additions to this world.
Thank you for that, Joe. When you said 2 times the word that I think encompasses everything we're talking about, it's about service. Right. And this is service after you take the uniform off. It's a way to continue that service and use the skills that you've learned and apply it to a much, much needed area. So let's go ahead and get into the topic here. I've invited you on first because I think it's so important what we're going to talk about. The DD214. The discharge papers, and it's different for the reserve and guard, but as far as you're concerned, they're all the same. They're discharge papers. DD214s, we all understand how important they are Joe, why don't you talk a little bit about how you perceive the DD214s and how you can help veterans safeguard them?
Oh, absolutely. So I'll tell you this, a lot of people may not even realize what goes on in the recorder's office. They have an idea that it has something to do with real estate and mortgages and deeds and liens and keeping those here in a central location. But because we are a central confidential location, we have the ability to record sensitive documents like the DD214 discharge papers. And what this does is it keeps it in a safe spot. You can, as we've talked before, the DD214 is required to realize basically all veterans benefits. You have to have a DD214. You have to have a certified copy, which is what we do here. So we encourage veterans to come into our office with their honorable discharge DD214 papers and record them here. When they do so, they will be given.
Joe, let me interrupt you a second. That would be for the National Guard, the DGB 22. And for the reservists, it would be the DD256. Everything you're talking about with the DD214 applies
would encompass
to those
those
two documents. Right.
Yeah,
right.
that would be also accepted as well. Yep. So when they bring those 3 types of documents in, we will record it, keep a copy here that is confidential. Sensitive information will not be made public on that. And also we'll give them another certified copy for themselves. I just talked to a lot of people that have, they have several copies of these laying around or in different safes around the house. And I think it's important to know that while the DD214 maybe later in life, like you've kind of used it to realize potentially some home buyer benefits or things like that, or VA benefits. But when our time comes, we want to make sure our family can access that DD214 to provide the proper honor that they deserve. So that's another reason why we also want those to be here so that family members can access them.
And let me say to that point, that is a key point, because the worst time to not be able to locate the DD214 for the member is when that member's just passed. And it used to take a great deal of time to get a replacement. Now you can get it quickly. And let me warn the people out there, you can get it quickly, but you don't need to go online to these services that you pay money for. And Joe's going to talk a little bit about his connection with the veteran services, county veteran services. Now, for you folks that are in a different state, you'll have something similar to county services, veteran county services. They can get replacement DD214s rather quickly in an emergency. Say somebody dies and you need that to start planning the burial. So don't waste your money going to somebody online that seems to have all the answers. They can help you with that. So continue, Joe, your coordination, collaboration with the veteran service folks.
Sure. Yeah. So I would just make that clear. Like, we completely work hand in hand with Greene County Veteran Services. There's so much out there. I would encourage you, if you're a veteran, if you have questions, if you're trying to just kind of make your way through, maybe coming after a deployment, there's people that can talk to you. They've been through it before. But, really for the recorder's office, we have this imaging component. So that's kind of where we come in to help out Greene County Services, because they don't have all that. We have the highest knowledge we can get to ensure the best copies of these things. So that's really how we work with them. It's definitely something that we do along with Greene County veterans.
Again, any specific questions, comments, you can go directly to Joe or myself, and you'll see all the contact information. Joe, tell me, say you want to go and record it, which I recommend to everyone. Mine's recorded. And by the way, we're going to show you a DD214. This is an Air Force DD214.
Redacted DD214.
Redacted, yeah. It's mine. I'll give it up. It's mine. But we should be putting that on the screen right now, so you can, if you're not familiar with it, you can get a little familiar with it.
Sure.
How does somebody, and be brief on these because we got a little bit to cover. How does somebody go and record this? What's the process? What do they do?
Right. Yeah. So, and I think that's a good point. We in one of our past recordings, Rick, we talked about, who can do that? Who can, does it just have to be the veteran, So obviously that's one person that can do it. But yes, you do have to come in person to the recorder's office with this documentation, like physically, but it doesn't have to be necessarily the veteran. It can be a family member representing the veteran. We would need to see their picture ID and then a marriage certificate or a birth certificate. A lot of times you'll have someone that's a power of attorney. So we would also need that person's picture ID and also the probate record of that relationship. Like what's what's given them the ability to do that. And, funeral homes, because that process at the end of someone's life, after that happens with the family, it's a very crazy time. So funeral homes we have registered people within the funeral homes that can access those and give you the proper honors.
So you have the DD214 there, and you have a need to recover it, to retrieve it. What do you need
Yep.
for that? Say the spouse needs to retrieve that.
It's very similar things for those things. You have to have a court order, power of attorney, some notarized statement that says, and plus your
Marriage
picture ID
certificate.
showing the relationship to that person to
Okay.
access those things.
Can anyone from any county in the state of Ohio log their documents with you?
Sure. Yeah. You could be in Clark County and record your DD214 in Greene County if you'd like, and go up to Cuyahoga if that's not a problem. So I think what we want to do is make sure that these documents are preserved, and that's what we do. I'm going through a budget thing right now about document preservation, and this is an important document, and we want to, this is our history.
So before we end, let me just say, you mentioned the value of the DD214 for educational purpose, for your children's educational purpose. It's also valuable, of course, for burial honors and rights.
Sure.
You can use it for discounts. There are job preference, veteran job preference, you would need this. So there are multiple uses for this and benefits to be able to have access to a certified DD214.
Yeah,
right. So
that's right.
Thank you for that, Joe. Now, I mentioned discounts. You do something else. Go ahead. You had one.
No,
one
you're
other thing?
exactly right. Yeah, go ahead. No, so yeah, I know where you're going to go with this, and
Go ahead.
The requirement is to have the DD214 recorded here, and we will also produce a vet ID card for you, which is really useful for those discounts. So what it essentially does is says that you have your DD214 recorded at the Greene County Recorder's office. That also tells your family if that is on your person. That's where it is, so your family needs to know what that means. That card means that it is recorded at, maybe it's not even Greene County, local counties around the state of Ohio. Those are things that some home loans require those. Sometimes they're the vet IDs that are required. Sometimes they want to go further and see the DD214, but it's okay, because if you've got the vet ID, your certified copy, DD214 is at the Greene County Recorder's office. So you
Perfect.
can produce those documents. You don't have to worry about it. Your family doesn't have to worry about it. And we're proud to do
Perfect.
it.
So I would imagine you go in with all the right information, wanting your DD214 to be stored
Yep.
and wanting an ID card.
I'd say, don't hesitate to call. Like you said, how great of a staff is here. I can't speak more highly of them. So helpful. Love working with veterans and just the public. So I encourage you to call. Feel free to come in and see me here. It's just, before you kind of gather your stuff, because I know this stuff's hard to remember. So this information is also on the website, like you said.
Which will be posted on this episode.
That's right.
And I understand that we're putting up a copy of my ID card, so you can see.
Oh, yeah.
So they take a picture if you want to fix your hair or something. But
Yeah.
it's a good document to have. And I still see the older veterans in restaurants, when it's a special date, they get 15% off, pulling out an old weathered DD214
Yeah.
with holes in it. This makes it a lot easier, much more convenient. It's at the hardware store, whatever. Hey,
I
Joe,
hope
listen.
that's not the actual certified copy.
Well, most veterans, I have 3 or 4 certified copies in different places, including with you. So
Yeah.
let me, do you have anything else to add to the audience?
I wanted to add to, so this would pertain to vets. It would also pertain to just the public. The big kind of buzzwords you hear about these days is property fraud. And just like the DD214 access, there's someone selling it on TV. And they may have some services that we don't offer, but you're going to pay for. But we also have property fraud alerts, which is not to offer, any legal insurance or anything like that to take care of something, but it will alert you as soon as there is anything that would happen with your parcel. So that's something that you can come into the Greene County Recorder's offices and most recorders' offices in the state of Ohio and sign up for, or you can even do it online, but we'll be happy to walk you through it. And what it'll do is it'll send you an email if there's any movement on your parcel that you own.
Thank
Yep.
you for that's wonderful.
Thank you, Rick.
So with that, I am going to thank Joe again and tell folks out there that you're welcome to give Joe, his staff, a call for the matters we talked about today. or other matters that you think he may be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe, you're a good man. I wish you luck. God bless, and thank you again for being with us.
Thanks for having me on today.
Mr. Worldwide with the iconic Brian Jovi. It's my life, it's now or never.
Well, look, I can't thank Joe enough. He is a good guy, and I'm so happy that he's decided to put himself out there and run for office. So thank you, Joe. And as I said during that segment, if you need anything, it's so easy to get a hold of him and talk to him. I'd like to close the show, my first show, with reestablishing a few things. First, the goals. And this is very important. I want to share as many resources, organizations, support organizations, opportunities, and benefits as I can with our vets. And my hope is that, again, the families and the friends will see that and think that maybe somebody could use that help, and a veteran could use that help and contact them. Then they could look at it. I will have a repository for all my old former episodes, so it'll be easy to find in YouTube when I get there, when you get there. I will solicit questions, comments, suggestions from everyone. My email address for this show is Pitbull214 Podcast at gmail.com. That's Pitbull214 Podcast at gmail.com. And Brennan will make sure that he puts it there. He'll also have my phone number. So if you think of a great session, an episode, yeah, please let me know. Now, I intend on doing this monthly to start, and as I get better at it, maybe twice a month. I've already got lined up to talk to Fort Paws and their support of veterans, and I have Colonel Cassie Barlow, who was the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base wing commander probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe more. Anyway, she's going to join us and talk about the transition and opportunities and resources out there for military members that are retiring or getting out and that want to transition into the civilian world. Very valuable, and she has so much knowledge. Actually, it's Colonel/Dr. Barlow. So some clarifications, caveats, if you will. First, as I said before, this information will be accurate to best of my ability. And if I stand corrected, then I will certainly correct online on an episode and make sure that we continue to have correct information. Next, I have been successful in my career because I know what I don't know. But probably more importantly is I know where to go to find someone that does know. So I have many contacts at all levels and all areas that touch veterans, and I won't be shy in using those to answer questions and to get some opportunities to share vital information with the vets out there. You've probably heard this before at school, but chances are if you have a question or concern, there's going to be other vets or vet-related people out there that have the same question or concern. So please don't feel shy in getting a hold of me and asking me that or talking to me about it. And lastly for that is that by its very nature and my tenure in the military, this is going to be mostly Air Force centered and mostly Wright-Pat, but I will strive to bring in Marines, bring in Army, bring in Coast Guard, Reserve, Guard people. I will do my best to try to bring in people from different services if things are a bit different. I want to make this good for everyone and for everybody throughout the country. So if I'm talking about something and you know that for a fact that in Louisiana they do it this way, feel free to talk. And hopefully that'll get us more viewership. Again, Pitbull214 Podcast at gmail.com is how to get a hold of me. I hope you've enjoyed the first episode, my inaugural episode, and it will get better, and I'll have some good information. I won't talk about me nearly as much. So you can look forward to that. I will be on social media. So please look for me on social media for advertisements of my next show episode, which I think is going to be enough for a while. And then as I get better and I get more guests lined up, like I said, I'll try to get a couple times a week, a couple times a month, sorry. Bottom line is we need to help our vets. We absolutely need to support our vets. They've given their all for us, and we need to repay them. The government alone can't do it. The VA is striving to do better, but they have limited resources. It's up to us to do what we can to help our vets who's given us, in many cases, everything they have. So join me in trying to do whatever we can, spread the word so that we can help our vets one by one. With that, this is the end of my first episode of Pitbull214, and I thank you all for viewing. God bless you, God bless America, and Pitbull out.
It's my